Okay, I'm going to start this over one more time.
Okay, why don't you start over one more time? Get your thoughts in order.
I've actually rehearsed this before.
Oh,
I
okay.
actually took a lot of time rehearsing this, and I'm not doing a good job.
This is Barely Furcasting, featuring Taebyn, an Injured Nerves audio production. Well, hello, Taebyn. How are you today?
Well, hello, Barely. I am doing great. How are you on this fine day?
I'm not too bad. And hello, every fur, everyone, every ship at sea. How are you? I hope everything is well.
Especially the sea, because then you can see what you can see.
See what you can see on the sea. You know how a sailor salutes?
How?
At sea level. Okay, well, got to start somewhere, right?
Got to start somewhere, and we're starting great.
Today is the 10th of October. We have just 20 short days until Halloween. Are you doing anything for Halloween coming up?
This pup usually hides in the house with the lights off. I bark at the door when there's trick-or-treaters, and I don't like it, and I run away.
Then be that way.
I am going to be that way. How about you? Do you do things for Halloween?
I usually just hand out candy to the little rugrats coming around, but I don't know if they're going to do that this year with COVID.
I hadn't thought about that yet until you just mentioned it. We'll see.
We'll see, yeah. We didn't get any mail this week, so we don't have nothing in the mailbag.
Oh, well.
Nothing to read. Oh, well. Oh, well. So let's move along to our media.
Media.
So what have you been watching?
But media.
Media what?
Media.
Uda. I'm not the Uda. Okay. Uda.
Oh, we are on such a good roll.
We're just. Is it a Kaiser roll?
It's a Kaiser roll. It has lots of butter, and we're on it, so it's a big one.
It's a big slathering buttered Kaiser roll.
I'm sorry to any further.
We have so gotten off the rails already. So let's see. So last week you mentioned a show called Young and Hungry, and so I went ahead and thought, well, I'll go ahead and watch it since Taebyn thought it was cool. So I watched the first episode. It was funny. I have to say that I wasn't expecting it to take the turn it took.
If you remember, I said it's kind of like a cheesy 80s sitcom, but it has, like, as you say, it has kind of a different turn to it. It's entertaining. Yeah,
the publicist, that's who you thought that was the butler, but he's the publicist.
He's a publicist, Elliot.
Yeah. Right. God, he's annoying. It's just annoying. Yeah. It's an annoying character.
Annoying that puts us gays in a bad light, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. He is the epitome of a stereotypical gay man.
Yeah, there is a lot of flame and it should be extinguished.
He adds to the show, I'm sure, but maybe he'll get better in future episodes. Who knows?
I know.
I know you know. You've watched a few more episodes. Aside from that, I haven't watched much this week. I've been busy. How about you?
Well, and you got a cheese grater.
I did get a cheese grater. For those of you that don't know what that is the Apple Mac Pro, and this is the first recording being recorded on that device. I had to buy a webcam. I ordered one online through Amazon. I'm a Prime member. They shipped it.
Well, good.
And it was supposed to arrive shortly after the Mac arrived. It was supposed to arrive. And I'm working. And I check my Amazon page to find out where my camera is. And it says it was delivered. Normally, they send you a picture when they deliver it. That's their process now. They put it on the porch, They send a picture, and they say your package was delivered. And I looked at that and it said it was handed to a resident. I went downstairs, talked to the husband, talked to their roommate. I said, did somebody answer the door and get a package from Amazon? They're like, no. Looked around, nothing. So I called Amazon and I said, I'm a Prime member. I order a lot of stuff. And it says here that it was handed to a resident. Now, it wasn't. And I'm not happy with this. And she says, well, let me check on it just a minute. So she, you hear the little clicky with the computer. And she says, well, it seems like the driver was running late. So rather than just say undeliverable, he said it was delivered to a resident. I said, so they lied?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not a good way to do business. She says, well, if it's not there by 5 o'clock tomorrow, guess what? It's not here and it's after 5 o'clock. You can call back and we'll send another one. And I said, so if you send another one, are they going to lie about that one too?
There's a big difference between, sometimes I could see if you're in a real hurry or something, you might, pick the reason that's close to it or something like, I don't know, whatever, but not, I delivered it versus
right. Exactly.
I did not deliver it. Those are two totally different things. You don't need too much logic to realize that.
Moving along, what have you been watching, Taebyn?
Oh yeah, right. Hi. So yeah, I've been continuing watching Young and Hungry. I wasn't sure after the first like 2 episodes because, as you say, it's entertaining. Didn't know if it'd be that entertaining. I think it's episode 3 or 4 actually was. I really liked it a lot. After that, it kind of goes back to the same level, but it's a good level. I think it's I find it entertaining. Elliot and Yolanda they work well on the show, I think. So it's been good. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I finished F is for Family. That is, I finished season 4, which is the last season that's currently out. Have you finished all 4 seasons?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Long time
Okay.
ago. Yeah.
You know, that last episode, which I just watched today, very interesting, actually. I mean, they leave it open for more. But if you think about it, as I was watching it, you realize they have kind of a deep commentary on like the human psyche in a way in there. Throughout the episode, if you think about it, it kind of asks you to like look at yourself and evaluate yourself. It actually had a kind of neat, deep message, I thought. And Shooter, I talked about Shooter last week. Still working on that.
You know what it is time for?
What is it time for?
It is time to post the link for 5-minute furs for fun. Well, no one joined us, so that means no fur. So that means we get to do Mad Libs.
Bark, bark, bark.
Got my pen clicking.
Ah, yeah.
For all you ASMRs out there,
ASMR.
look it up later.
Okay. I will. I'll write that down.
This is a Star Trek Mad Libs.
Ooh.
I need a verb.
To voyage.
To voyage?
I don't know why that's
still
so
not
funny.
a verb. It's still not a verb.
Okay. Running.
And now a verb that ends in ing, even though you just gave me one. Give me another one.
Procrastinating.
Right. A plural noun. That means more than one.
Computers.
A number.
642.791.
That's a very specific number.
It's a very specific.
A noun.
Plufferdine. That's a noun. That's also a verb and an adjective.
Apparently. And now, since you said adjective, that's what I need now.
Marbleized.
A type of liquid.
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
A verb.
Pontificate.
Wow, that's a big word.
It is a big word. Not even sure if I know what it means, but I know it's a word.
I have to say the same word again. The same one again. We're going to use it twice in a sentence.
Wow.
A noun.
Shirt.
Are you reading ahead? An article of clothing.
I'm behind one, apparently. Stocking mitt.
Stocking mitt?
Stocking mitt.
Color.
Plufferine. That's different than plufferdine. Plufferine.
Plufferine, that's a color?
It's a color. It's a combination of pluff and green.
Plufferine. Okay, gotcha. Another adjective.
Crazy.
Crazy
That's
it
what
is.
I am.
Another adjective.
Fluffy. It's not just fluffy, it's fluffy.
Plural noun.
Desk monitors.
Because I'm probably saying if you're looking at one. A celebrity.
John Cleese.
Ooh, nice celebrity.
Talked about him
we did.
last week, a few weeks ago.
Faulty Towers.
Faulty Towers.
Plural noun.
Plushies.
Plushies. Okay.
That's a good one.
Our story today is Welcome to Starfleet Academy. Before you set your phasers to running, you've got a lot to do before procrastinating, Starfleet.
Oh, good.
First of all, you'll have to leave all your old computers behind.
Oh.
If you're going to spend 642.791 years in space, you need to start with a clean fluffer, whatever you said, plufferine. No, that's the color. Plufferdine, a clean plufferdine.
Okay, good.
Okay, so if you're going to spend 642.791 years in space, you'd need to start with a clean pufferdine. Second, get ready to work. It's not all exotic, marbleized aliens and Romulan Kool-Aid. You need to pontificate, and pontificate hard.
Okay.
Okay. Eventually...
Only I knew what pontificate means.
Being on your soapbox.
Oh.
And that's
so
pontificating. You do it hard. You got to do it hard.
We're going to do it hard.
Eventually, you will be divided into groups and given a shirt. That determines the color stocking mitt you'll have to wear. Pray you don't get a plufferdine one, or you're as good as crazy.
Oh,
but life at Starfleet Academy is not fluffy all the time.
Oh.
You'll meet all kinds of new desk monitors. And remember, hotshots such as James T. Kirk and John Cleese have passed through these plushies so you could be next. Welcome to Starfleet Academy.
Well, I feel
Wow.
very welcome.
Shouldn't you now? Yes.
Well, what was that first sentence? Do that again.
Before you set your phasers to running, you've got a lot to do before procrastinating Starfleet Academy.
Oh, and then it says you've got a lot to do. Right. So if I'm going to procrastinate, it's a good thing I have a lot to do because
Yes.
I will procrastinate and not do it.
You'll procrastinate on your pontifications.
It's true. Well, that was very educational.
That's going to take us into our. What's going to take us? Oh, it's going to take us into our guest. And our guest today.
I hope
it's
it
going
doesn't hurt.
Well, I guess you're going to possess them. Arr. No, that's Halloween. We'll possess our guests at Halloween. How's that?
Nice. I can't wait.
All right. Yeah. We'll make them scream like a ghost. I don't know.
I don't. Are you pontificating again? You're pluffing.
No. My Plufferdine is showing us. Okay, well, today's guest is Fibre Kitty and his husband, Dusk Panda.
I'm so excited. I wag. I love them. They're both so great.
Well, hello, Fibre. Hello, Dusk. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm pretty good.
Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you?
Good. So for our listeners, so they can differentiate your voice, Dusk, which one are you?
This is me. Hello. This is the voice of Dusk.
Hello.
Okay, and Fibre?
That's me. I'm Fibre over here.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome. Okay, Fibre and Dusk. Well, welcome to our show.
It
Thank
sounds
you for being
like Dusk is on the left and Fibre is on the right.
That is actually correct.
Hey!
I'm kind of scared how we do that.
I don't know.
I'm just a pup. I don't know these things. I just do.
You can tell from a mono recording that goes along with the color blindness, I guess.
Yeah.
They go paw and paw.
So, Taebyn, do you have some questions that you would like to ask these gentlemen?
I definitely have questions I would like to ask these gentle furs, as it were. Fibre and Dusk, would you be okay answering questions from this pup right here?
I would definitely be okay with that. How about you, Dusk?
That heavily depends on the questions. Give it a go.
We'll see. That's good. Well, let's just go into unknown territory and see what happens. I'm not really sure what I mean by that, but we're just going to do it. First off, you two are married, and that's wonderful and exciting. How long have you been together?
Let's see. Well, there's two ways to answer that, which is how long have we been together as in like dating / known each other, and how long have we been married? Which one are you after?
Let's do both. And let's go in the order of how long have you been together as in like dating and stuff, and then move on to how long have you been married?
Well, let's see. The first time we met was back at MFF in
2014.
Was it 14? I thought it was 13.
I thought it was 14.
Well, it was one of those years. I'm just going to say it's 13 because then it sounds better.
Yeah, and I don't want to cause any like fights between you two right off. So yeah, let's go 13.
It's fine. But I'm just going to go with 13. That's when we first met. We didn't really like pursue the whole dating thing explicitly. It was one of those things that just kind of happened. Like we kept talking to each other. We kept wanting to see each other until eventually we were like, oh, are we dating now? Yeah, I guess we're kind of dating now. And then it progressed like that until we got married at the beginning of 2017.
Yeah. Oh, I think 2014 was when I actually proposed.
I happened to see the other day when you proposed at MFF on stage. It was so sweet and exciting. And it was even more exciting that Kitty said yes. That would have been a letdown if you didn't. So I'm glad you did.
He had a complete teary breakdown on stage. That was fun.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah.
Like he planned that whole thing behind my back. Like I didn't see any of it coming. Like everyone on stage knew. Everyone who was watching me that I knew in the audience also knew. It totally floored me. And yeah, I couldn't talk for like a half hour because I was crying.
That's so cool. I love it.
Does that carry on to like birthdays and surprises? Does he the one that makes it work that way and you're just always surprised?
I mean, sort of. Like, I'm not really one who celebrates my birthday for various reasons. So as a result, I usually forget when it begins to creep up. And then Dusk is always the one to remind me that it's coming up.
Nice.
You play off each other pretty well, that. Remember, it's her birthday. Oh, yeah, that's right. I thought I knew that. Yeah, I did. So that's great. So Fibre, you are an American fur, and Dusk, you're a Euro fur. how did you get? Well, it was at MFF, so I assume you just kind of were at the same con, and one of you was from Europe and the other was from America.
Yeah, basically work sent me over to the US because I've not been there for a very long time. And then dates coincided with MFF. So I thought, hey, while I'm in the US, might as well attend there. Problem with that is I knew basically no one at the convention. And I knew Fibre from one or two online chats before that, but not really. And so we ran into each other, and then we kind of didn't part from each other for the rest of the con. And he kind of showed me around, introduced me to everyone, and we ended up basically spending the entire con together. And then I went back to Europe. Then it was a few months until Confuzzled in the UK, where he was attending. And before that, he was visiting an acquaintance of mine, a friend of mine. And when I found out that he actually will come to visit them, I kind of half invited myself. Then we basically just continued as if the gap between MFF and then didn't actually happen. And then from then we ever stayed in touch and kind of developed from there.
That's so cute. Kitty and Panda together forever.
Meow.
Bark, bark. You two are settled in America, is that right?
Yes.
And so how did that come about? You decided to be here, or do you split your time between the two places?
So we definitely did take some time deciding between the two. The reason that we ultimately went for the US is because Dusk is in the fortunate position where he doesn't have a whole lot of family or financial ties to any one specific place, so it's really easy for him to move around. I, on the other hand, especially several years ago, had student loans that I still had to pay. I had family obligations that were still unresolved. So all of that made it much easier for him to come here than for me to move.
Okay, good. Everything's kind of worked out really perfectly for you too. It sounds like that's amazing. That's awesome.
Well, kind of. The day I left the UK, I was living in the UK at that point, is basically, I think, 2 or 3 days or something like that after Brexit happened, the whole vote.
I remember that.
Brexit? What's a Brexit?
You know, the European Union.
Okay.
And there's lots of countries involved in that. And then at some point, the UK decided that they don't want to be part of that anymore.
Oh, okay.
And had a vote or a referendum on that. And people said, no, let's leave. And they have struggled with that decision ever since.
I see. Okay, okay. This pup doesn't know many things, so thank you for explaining to this pup. But I can understand that's quite a thing there they got going on. Fibre, tell us the story about how you realized you're a furry and a kitty and where Fibre Kitty came from.
Oh man, I envy like the people that have really interesting stories when it comes to this thing, because I really don't. Like literally, furry was sort of a thing that I guess I was aware of for a long time, but never really like investigated it until eventually one of my friends who knows me really well said, you know, you kind of seem like you're a furry. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're always picking the non-human characters in video games, and you're always, you know, watching like Disney movies with animals in them. You seem like you should be a furry. And I was like, oh. So I began investigating, and then the rest is history. To answer the second part, why a cat? It's really not much more complicated than cats are my favorite kind of animal. I grew up with cats. Like both my mom and her twin sister had cats, so I have an attachment to them because of that. Tigers are my favorite kind of cats because I like the stripes and I think they're really pretty. And also because tigers have like a lot of properties that I wish I had. Like they seem so confident, they seem so commanding, and I kind of wish I had that confidence myself. And then to answer the final part of the question, the name Fibre is actually, it didn't come from like the Fibre that most people think of. I do a lot of computer work for a living, and when I was first getting into the furry fandom, I was doing a lot of networking stuff, and I was doing a lot of work with fiber internet, which is like a particular type of cable. So I was saying fiber a lot, and I was like, you know, I kind of like that. I should just use that as a name.
So what's the other type of fiber that people usually think about? Like, like fibers of like hair and stuff?
Well, the one joke that everyone likes to make to my face is, do you have enough fiber in your diet?
Oh, why did I not think of that?
It's not a bad thing you haven't thought of it. Trust me. I've heard it. I used to count how many times I heard it until I lost count after a few hundred.
Well, next time I see you, I'm going to make sure to say that at least a few hundred times so that you can get up to, oh no, barely saying no. So maybe not, but we'll see what happens.
Don't. You'll get the stare.
Oh, the kitty stare of ferociousness. So that's probably why you mentioned tiger. So is that why you have all the pretty stripes?
Uh-huh. I am a cat, and more specifically, I am a tiger.
More specifically, a tiger. Good to know. So you actually do have some good confidence in you, I think, because I've noticed that you blush so well and vibrantly. And apparently that just exudes confidence somehow, maybe not, but in my mind it does. So how do you do that? How do you blush so well and vibrantly?
Well, I mean, if I'm going to be totally honest, I blush really well because of the power of a Duramax 9-volt battery. If I wanted to be a little bit more interesting with my answer, I don't know. I'm very bashful. Like it's a weird combination to be like a mix of confident and bashful at the same time. Like I don't know if I really would describe myself as confident like before anything else, because I don't really think I am. But it's very, very easy to make me flustered and blushy and things like that. So that's the source of where that comes from.
That's so wonderful. I think part of the source may come from the fact that you are a professional hugger. I know this is true, and I know you're self-proclaimed because I happen to know this is true. So tell us all about this profession that you embrace and are so good at.
It's a weird profession when you really think about it, because like hugging is the one thing that you cannot evaluate by yourself, because you can't hug yourself. It's the one thing that you need others to tell you whether or not you're doing the right thing or not. So I guess based on popular consensus, I seem to be doing pretty good so far. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you besides I just really, 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 really like hugs. I like making people feel loved.
That's a beautiful thing. Oh, I love that. And not to pull my own fluff, but I've been told that this pup can do good hugs too. So we're in the same, maybe we're in the same profession together. I don't know.
Well, I mean, what I can tell you is when you give lots of hugs to lots of different people, you very, very quickly become aware of when a hug is good and when one is bad. And I can tell you from personal experience, your hugs are quite good.
Oh, well, this means a lot to this pup coming from a professional kitty like you. So thank you for saying I'll just have to keep it up and working on my technique.
Meow.
Bark, bark. And so you have another profession that you already alluded to. You do computer stuff. So tell us about that. Yay for nerd furs and stuff.
Oh man, that's one of those things where like it's super interesting to talk about when the other person knows what you're talking about. But without that, I might as well say the most accurate way to describe what I do for 8 hours, 5 days a week is I will bang my head against the keyboard repeatedly until what's on the screen looks more or less correct.
Cool. And if you bash your head enough, it probably looks correct, even if it's way far from being correct.
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as it looks correct, and as long as the other people look at it and go, yeah, that looks correct, then that's fine.
So is it like coding and stuff?
Yeah, it's writing lots of programs and computery things like that. Like, I could get into specifics, but that's that's pretty deep into the weeds at that point.
Well, without going too deep in the weeds, is it like C++, or what do you like to code in?
The quick version of this answer is lots of little scripting tools written in things like Python and PowerShell and stuff like that.
Okay, and so you weave them together in some that magnificent thing that turns out looking correct after you hurt your head a lot.
Yes. Yes, exactly that.
My husband would talk for hours with you about that stuff.
Yeah, Alex is a nerdy. I'm a nerdy pup too, so it could be bad to get us three together. Or good, as the case may be. Good for us anyway. Well, that's exciting.
It's bad enough in our own household because we're basically both into DevOps cloud computing stuff. So just between the two of us, we already have far too much nerd energy in the house.
Nice. This is good to know. Bad for everyone else, but good for me to know. So, Dusk, Mr. Panda, how are you doing?
About the same as when we started this. So I have not deteriorated. I'm happy to report.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear that, because if something deteriorated, I'd probably feel a little bad because it'd be my fault. Because anyway, I met you at BLFC, I forget what year, 2018 maybe. And it seems to me you had an interesting story about your name or why you're Panda or where you came from. So tell us about that, the story of the panda.
Okay, so the panda story, because there's two characters behind this. So I've been in the fandom for quite a while, and originally I was a white line called Fairlight, and most of the work I've done over in Europe was under that. So Dusk came to be because at some point I wanted a fursuit character, and I thought a white lion is basically a surefire way to get a black line in a very short time. It's very difficult, and it's probably a little bit boring to look at, I thought. So I thought, hey, let's make a non-standard red panda and see what happens. And so I did. And at that point, I had this rule that any secondary characters of mine have to have a name that only has 4 letters. Most of the role-playing games I played, all my characters always had like 4 letters. So, and on account of the panda being a dark kind of blue and purple, like, sundown. So I named him Dusk eventually. And that kind of stuck to the point where I don't think many people know me as Fairlight anymore these days.
So how long ago was that then?
That was shortly before I first met Fibre, I think. So, oh God, how long was that?
No, I actually do remember because you had just gotten Dusk, the EF before I went, and then like MFF was in between that. So I had seen, like, I met you when you had only had the suit for like a year or something like that.
Yeah, so I reckon it was about 8 years ago, maybe, roughly.
So did you start getting into furry like a long time before that then? Or did it all kind of happen at the same time about 8 years ago?
No, I went into the fandom back at, I think my first con was Eurofriends 3. And that was, I think, back in 1997.
Oh, wow.
And I was living still in Germany at the time. Yeah, so I grew up in Germany. And then at age 30, I moved to the UK. And then after that, I moved now to the US. So this is my 3rd country now.
Literally your 3rd country. What moved you from Germany to the UK? Was it a work thing?
No, it was a hard thing. So every single time I seem to move countries, it's because of someone else that I really want to be with.
Oh, that's actually sweet that you moved like that.
That's sweet.
Yes, he even barely agrees. And you wound up in America with the correct kitty. Let me just go with that. How's that?
That sounds about correct, yes.
Okay, good. So what is PawPet and how did that come about?
Okay, so a long time ago, a barely known show called Peanuts actually coined the term PawPets. It was like their little puppet show that they put on, and they called them PawPets, and it was cute. And eventually some furs in the US picked up on that, and they made weekly shows that I think still go on. They stopped for a while, and I think they restarted them now, called the Fun Day PawPet Show. And that started off a puppetry kind of tradition also at various conventions. So when I could actually afford to visit the US in the early days, that was once for Conference 11. And I met a furry called Teddy Ruxpin there. And he was preparing for a puppet show, like a live performance thing. Folkmanis puppets to music. And he looked like he could use some help. So I kind of didn't know anyone, and I volunteered because it looked like something interesting to do, and I already had like a Folkmanis puppet with me, and so I got involved with that. And then on the flight back, I was like, hey, Europe doesn't have anything like that, and I bet I could do that. So when I got back, I started building a stage, got a team together, and then at Eurofriends 6, we had our first Eurofriends PawPet show. And then, where are they now? Eurofriends 20-something or so? And they had a puppet show ever since.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Wow. So where can birds find out more? But like, do you have a website or some place where they can find more information about it?
If you look for either Eurofriends or Confuzzled PawPet Show on YouTube, you will find a lot of the recordings there, I think.
Okay, cool.
The puppet show in Germany also has their own YouTube account and their own Patreon that they set up for help with some of the production, because you have to think of it as a full stage production these days. Like once a year, you have like 100+ pages of script, 30 people involved, custom written soundtrack, custom built backdrops, painted, built everything, custom built puppets. It's gone like from its very early days. It's come a long way since then.
And you started that. That must like feel awesome. It's like your baby, your creation has just like really come to life.
I'm like the grandfather of puppetry in Europe, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So you're a puppeteer then. Have you always been into this, or did the PawPet thing kind of help spark it, or what was the story behind all that?
I didn't give it too much thought originally, and then I saw the Fun Day PawPet Show and thought, hey, this is cute. Then I got involved with Teddy Ruxpin, like I said before, and thought, hey, this is actually not just cute, it's also fun. And then I started doing it myself, and I was like, right, this is the creative outlet I have been looking for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's an artistry, definitely. In a way, I feel it's like a non kind of normal artistry in that, when you think artistry, you think like writing and coloring and drawing and things like that. And puppeteering, I mean, it's out there, but it doesn't seem to be at the forefront of everyone's mind. So that's really cool.
It brings everything together, though, if you think of it as the stage production. So, you get involved with story writing because someone needs to write the whole stage play. You get involved with the arts and creative aspects of it because, yes, you have artists who then, paint all the backdrops and create all the poster art that we have and all that. You are getting involved with musicians who write the soundtrack for it. We had Fox Moore actually custom write several soundtracks for us.
I was just going to ask that. Cool.
So while not directly one of the traditional arts, it basically encompasses or makes use of all the traditional arts that are out there and gives them, if you like, a purposeful platform on a stage.
Yeah, cool. Very, as you say, a great way to...
A great way to make your arm fall off. That's what it is.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
As the blood slowly drains from your arm.
Then it falls off.
So, Dusk, are you still involved with it there for EF, or are you like you said you're the grandfather, are you like the grand chairman of the PawPet in Europe then?
No. So Cheetah and Icefooks have taken that over, and they're doing a really good job running it. It doesn't work over long distances. Even when I moved to the UK, I was still involved with it to some point, but eventually I just focused on the Confuzzled puppet show that was starting up at that point and left the Eurofriends one to the guys over in Germany. And similarly, when I moved over to the US, my involvement with the Confuzzled puppet show sadly had to end because of distance.
Aww.
So at the moment, I'm not really involved in puppetry, sadly.
Well, I'm sure it'll start back up once we're not in lockdown anymore and we can get out and do some stuff. And then you'll be all creative fluff again.
Yeah. Or in the meantime, I found several other hobbies to actually pursue. So just because I don't do one thing doesn't mean I don't have my creative outlets.
I guess we can be multifaceted, believe it or not. That's amazing. I learn new things every day. So do both of you collaborate on anything? So Dusk, you said you're a little bit of a nerd for too. So you collaborate on that. And does Fibre help you with puppeteering? Well, when you did do puppeteering, help you with that? And do you help Fibre with computery nerdy stuff?
To some degree. I built most of his PC for some reason. So he was perfectly capable of building it himself, but it was all flashy lights, so I wanted it. No, so we do that. With regards to puppetry, not necessarily, because most of that happened before our time or when he was still in America and was there for a long way away. What we do is we started up a YouTube channel called Panda Cat Studios, and I've started getting into video editing, both con videos and other fun little thing. Like, at some point we reviewed some kind of IKEA bowl and marveled at its 11-inch aperture.
Okay. Okay.
That sounds very similar to something that you do, Taebyn.
It's silly stuff.
Yes. No, I'm just talking about your product reviews. That sounds very similar to your product reviews.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do product reviews. My YouTube has like many, many, many different things. And one of them is product reviews. And we did a product review panel at FC this year. I think, was it this year? Yeah.
Yes.
And it went really, really well. And it was funny because, I mean, not to talk about me or anything, but it was funny because there were some people that came in thinking that I was going to review like fur fabric and like paw making and things like that, but it totally was not at all. But I mean, they still stayed and liked it, but I just thought it was funny that anyway, I'll stop talking about that because it doesn't matter. But no, good. So Panda Cat Studios. And so if we were to search on the YouTube for Panda Cat Studios, would that just come right up?
Yep, that should come right up. And you will find a very weird collection of videos. Not all of them product reviews, some of them just, you have to experience it, I guess. It's just all over the place at the moment.
See, that's exactly like my YouTube. It's like they're just all, oh my cow, it's all over the place.
It's a stream of consciousness put into a YouTube channel.
It really is. It really is. Oh, I want to go back just really quick, back to the puppeteering thing, just because I wanted to ask, since it is kind of, I don't know if I want to say niche, but it's kind of a non-standard type thing. If some furs out there are interested in it or want to find out more. Maybe they don't even know if they're interested in it and want to find out about it. How would you recommend some fur get involved or find out more information about puppeteering?
Well, the entry point is actually pretty easy. You just grab any Folkmanis puppet or whatever is out there and hang a cloth somewhere, hide behind it, put your arm up and just record something. So the very basic step is very do-it-yourself at home. But there is a lot of other furries out there, both in the US and in Europe, that are involved with the either established shows. And in the US, there's even a couple of furries that I know that are in like a puppeteers guild, if you like.
I think they might call it a puppeteers guild. I mean, I'm not sure, but that sounds like something they would call it.
Maybe, yes.
Calling something a guild is cool. I don't care what anyone says.
If anyone wants to know more, I mean, I have contacts, just not on the top of my head. So people can contact me either on Twitter or Telegram or whatever. My username is the same everywhere, and ask me if they want to, and I point them in directions.
Okay, good. Yep. So all you furs out there, Dusk Panda on Twitter, and well, that on Telegram too, and you can find out more about puppeteering. So kind of moving on the con front before the lockdown, which cons would you normally attend? How many would you go per year and all that good stuff?
I think because I joined the fandom so much later than Dust did, I was, I guess, making up for lost time and was going to like all the cons. I had a couple years where I was like, let's just do all the cons and see how many I can get done. But when that finally started to settle down, I think the ones that I was really enjoying, MFF was a really good one because it was in the middle of the country and it had a good mix of people from all over attending, even people who were coming from across the seas, like Dusk, for example. And I'm very happy he did.
Yay.
But it was good because of the diversity of people that you got. Besides that, I remember doing that. I went to Rainforest a couple times before it finally died. And the reason that I enjoyed it is because Rainforest was the first con I actually was able to fursuit at. And it was also a con where I met a lot of really good friends that I still am good friends with to this day. So I kept going to Rainforest because it was an opportunity to see all these people that I really enjoyed the company of. And it just had it was a special thing for me because, like I said, first time I was able to suit. So I enjoyed it for those reasons. But like, if I had to narrow it down to cons now, like if COVID wasn't happening and I had to schedule a bunch of stuff for next year, I definitely would want to do MFF again. And I would definitely want to do a European con, probably Eurofurence, because in my opinion, if you can and you have the means, you absolutely have to go to a con in Europe. They are very different from American cons, and in almost all the ways that they're different are very good.
I've heard similar things. Yeah, I definitely have not made it outside the US to go to con, but that is what I hear from other furs. It's like, well, if you're going to go to one, go to EF.
Yeah, just make sure you have enough holidays because with early arrival and late departure, Eurofurence is a 7-day adventure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yes, and about, what is it, last time I checked, I think 80% of people are fursuiters there. It is an 18+ con, so be aware of that because of youth protection laws in Germany. And because there are so many fursuiters, what you see as a fursuit launch in the US, forget about any of that. The second you walk into a fursuit launch in any European con, you will be, forgive the pun, blown away.
Yeah, because they have fans in there, and that's why it's, I got that.
3-phase fans. Confuzzled has a fan that they got from a destroyer warship, from their air conditioning system. They can't turn it on fully because otherwise it lifts off the ground.
We do not have that over here, I'm pretty sure. That's pretty amazing.
So Fibre, let me ask, so you said it's totally different in every way. So give us an example, other than the fursuit lounge having a jet engine blowing people away.
Well, I'm not sure if it's different in every way, but it's different in a lot of ways. Like,
okay,
I guess culture shock might be a little strong of a term, but it's kind of similar to that. Like Dusk already said, they're week-long cons if you get the early and late days added onto it. They're 5 days otherwise, so they're quite long. But because of that, the pacing is very different. With American cons, because they only last one weekend, they tend to have a very rushed feeling, like everyone's only got a couple days to squeeze all the events in and see everyone they want to see. Because the cons in Europe in general are so much longer, it's not as much of a rat race as it is there. So it's nicer.
Or a kitty and panda race.
Yeah, there's also a thing with, because the cons are longer and their budgets have adjusted as such, you have a lot more decoration and theming going on in your Friends or Confuzzled. And you have things like, MFF, that moment when the bar closes at 10 o'clock and everyone disappears into their rooms. Not necessarily happening as much there because the bars stay open until the last customer doesn't want a beer anymore.
Oh, so they stay open pretty late.
It's not unusual to be able to get a drink at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and the dances go on that long as well. Yes.
Wow.
The decorations are so cool. Like the Eurofurence, the one Eurofurence that I went to, it was 20, I think it was. And the hotel has this big indoor atrium. They had these multi-story banners hanging in the main lobby. They had all these cool props scattered all over the place. I remember the theme was, I think, like cop sort of thing, like crime and law and order and stuff like that. And I don't know how they got this, but they had a friggin' classic Crown Victoria police cruiser in the hotel, and they had like a crime scene all set up. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like that at a con before.
Yeah.
Was that they got that for the con, or did it just happen to already be there?
One of the staffers of the con is a bit of a car fanatic, and he had connections. So this is how we got that. We also got like Roman chariots before because we had connections, and for our Roman theme, we got that. Wow. So it pays off to have connections.
Did they speak Latin?
No, but we got a whole bunch of horse fursuiters pulling around a chariot through the city center.
Ah, okay.
Wow.
You guys will have to go back and listen to our past podcasts. There's a thing about Romans speaking Latin, so that's why I had to ask.
So for any of our listeners that have listened, at least for the last like 2 or 3 episodes before this, you might get that. And if not, go back and find out what was that about. We actually, I'm not sure if we still know, but
here is a bonus hint, by the way. If you're visiting other countries, we highly recommend visit in other countries, experience another culture, because yes, furry binds is all together, but the approach to it from various different countries is quite different at times. If you ever happen to go to Japan and visit JMOF, which is the local furry convention there, the only hint I can give you is make sure you have business cards. Over here, people approach each other, say, hi, I'm this, and then they give each other a hug. It's not going to happen there. What you do is you bow and you give each other business cards. And if you're still in the same area 5 hours later, then you can think about the hug.
Interesting. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. Cool.
That is actually something that's really cool about furry too, is you can take a common ground that everyone has and you can see how different people and different cultures interpret it. And it's fascinating. It's really cool.
There's a lot of cool things about furry, it turns out, I must say. So do you two have favorite I mean, this is actually a not fair question. Do you have any favorite con memories?
I feel like that's an unfair question, because if I give any other answer than the night that Dusk proposed to me, I feel like I'm doing an injustice.
That is true. That is so true.
But even besides that, I'm struggling to think of a better moment than that. Honestly, that was probably one of my favorite moments.
Nice.
Yeah, I plead the fifth.
Yeah.
You plead the fifth? Okay.
No, I think that's probably safe.
That is pretty safe. We ask that question a lot. What's your favorite con? What's your favorite con memory? And like you said, that one, that's clearly the top of the heap. For me, it was always been my very first con was always that will stick him out in my memory forever.
FC 2017, right?
Yeah,
17. So. Yep.
My first con was horrifying.
Oh,
really?
It was enjoyable, but it's one of these cases where you don't know a lot about the furries yet. You arrive at a con, and there's suddenly all the gay people, and you have no concept how to react to that, and you were not prepared for this. And suddenly, you as at that point, straight young male, suddenly get approached by quite some different, interesting-looking people with intentions. That was horrifying at first.
My first con wasn't that different. Anthrocon was my first one, and that's a heck of a con to go to as a first con. It was a serious case of culture shock.
I bet, yeah. I've only been to AC once, but yeah, I could see how why you might say that.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of our discussion with you guys. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the fandom? Wise words of wisdom that you might have for everybody?
Or interesting, fun things we should all know about ourselves?
Yeah, anything.
So a bit of wisdom. Like I said, I joined a long time ago, so you see things over the years. So back in the time, 1997 Germany, there weren't that many furries around. You basically knew them all, and it was a pretty homogeneous group, I would say. Now, if you look at furries today, you very much see a different picture. You see all these conflicts between those who have been around longer and those who have joined anew. And you see a lot of conflict out of what is your definition of furry versus what is my definition of furry. Because the fandom has diversified to the point where you can no longer assume just because the other person is a furry that they share 95% of what you are into or what you deem to be furry. And my advice to that is just that's the natural process of things. The larger a group gets, the more it diversifies. You will find your niche in there and you will find your group and you will be happy with them, but don't have the expectation that the entire fandom will conform to your interests, because that's in all reality not going to happen. And it just makes you sad and it makes everyone else sad.
And we don't like sad. We like happy pup.
Those are really good points, though. Like, that's actually been something I've been thinking of for quite a while. Like, not that I'm going to claim to have the same amount of experience that Dusk has, because I've only been part of the fandom for 7 years or something like that. But it's true. Even in the 7 years I've been in it, there's been a lot of change that's been happening. And I mean, sure, not all change is a good thing, but like Dusk said, the fact that everything is diversified so much is something we should be celebrating. There's so many people who are part of this community that all interpret it differently. They all get something different out of it. And I think that's awesome. Like, we should all celebrate that diversity.
There is one thing that I always want to bring up, which is the furry fandom is one of the very, very few fandoms that celebrates the things that we create. We don't follow a common series as a ground or some other commercial project that we rally around. We celebrate the things that we create, and that is a very unique thing, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think you're right. That's a big, very unique thing to us. Yeah. And the fact that we are so diversified brings us together as a closer family that way.
There you go. Go out there, create something that's yours and that you're proud of, and celebrate that creation with everyone else.
Woohoo, bark, bark.
And hug people. Always hug people.
Hug people.
Ask for permission first.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course. You always ask. You always ask. That's the whole point of the outstretched arms. That's the request. And then they have to follow up.
Well, I must admit, I've been naughty pup. I kind of just hug anyway. I mean, there's even, like, I remember one con, I think maybe it was TFF one year, I forget. One year they had, like the no hug and hug please and ask before you hug little badges. And there was a few people, I'm Taebyn. I just went up and hugged, even though they had a no hug thing, and I felt bad, but it was fine. But I'm naughty pup.
He's an assaultive hugger.
I am.
Nordic FuzzCon had something interesting one year, another furry convention up in Sweden, and they had hug booths. So throughout the con floor, they actually put markings on the floor, and basically you could just, if you felt like you need a hug, because we have a lot of people who actually enjoy it but are far too shy to even ask for one, you could just basically go there, stand in that space, and it's a signal to all the fursuiters and everyone else around there. It's like, hey, there is someone who wants to be hugged.
Oh.
And it worked really well.
Yeah,
so cute.
That is cute.
Well, if I ever go to Nordic FuzzCon, I know where I'm going to spend 99.8% of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, square meter.
And the other 0.2% of the time you'll be at the other booth.
Right. It'll be like, where was
Fibre?
Fibre? He was in this square the whole time. He saw nothing else.
It was an interesting square.
Yes. Yes. Well, Fibre and Dusk, thank you for being on our show. It was a pleasure to talk to both of you. It's great to have various different furs on our show, and you have really helped everyone along. I mean, it's great to have you guys like this.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having us. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, well, with that, we're going to say goodbye, and you have a great time, and I hope that everything goes great for you, and I hope that when COVID is lifted, we can all get together one more time, and we can hug each other.
I cannot wait.
Oh gosh, we have a backlog of hugs.
Bark, bark, wag, wag.
Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye. And tomorrow, just like today.
There you go.
All right.
Wag, wag.
Bye, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Well, that was a lot
Oh.
of fun.
It was. They're very nice furs. I've met Fibre 3 or 4 times. I've only met Dusk once, but they're both very nice and wonderful furs, and they were a lot of fun to talk to.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I don't think I've met either one of them. I might have. There's a lot of cons where I go to and I meet a lot of people we've talked to, and I've like, I don't remember meeting you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There's so many furs out there that
So, yeah.
I feel so bad because a lot of times, people come up to me and say hi and I don't remember them. And so I apologize profusely to any fur out there if I do that to you. I mean, I'll recognize eventually. It just takes me a little bit of time. But yeah, anyway, it was interesting to hear about the puppeteering and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I kind of want to. I have a puppet.
Oh, you do?
I do.
You mean besides me?
Yes, but you're my paw. Well, there are paw pets. And what he mentioned the peanuts. I remember that from way back when I was
really?
a wee cub bear. I remember the peanuts and the paw pets.
Really?
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
and when he said that, it clicked. I was like, "Wow, yeah, okay."
And wow, that's interesting. It's funny how things tie together even now.
Right? Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
Yeah. So I think I might have to bring me a puppet the next time we go to a con.
Yep. Well, along with your little chicken finger things.
Yes, I'm going to be the man with the chicken fingers, the little tiny finger hands, and the chickens and that stuff. So, yeah, that's the only merch we have at this point.
That's the only merch.
Tiny hands and little baby chickens. It's like
I gotta get working on that CD or something so we can have like some other type of merch.
Something. So what do you say we get to our next segment?
I say we get to our next segment. Hi.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, it is now time for Furries in the News.
Furries in the news. Wawoos.
Wawawoos?
Awoos.
Awoos. You awooed. Uh-oh.
I did. $350 fine for the
Uh-oh. I'm sure you're familiar with DC Comics and Marvel Comics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's marvelous.
Well, yes, but this is DC, so.
So it's DCS?
So DC Comics has a long history of having animals in traditional superhero roles. And recently they revealed that there's a character called Captain Carrot. Apparently the DC has what they call the multiverse.
Mm-hmm.
For those comic book aficionados out there. DC is bringing the multiverse to an end. And by the time this comes out, it may have ended already. I don't know. I think the theory is that only one superhero from each of the multiverse worlds will survive.
Oh,
and Captain Carrot, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Captain Carrot is going to be the survivor from there. So there's an anthropomorphic superhero. And of course, the Green Lantern, right?
Sheldon Cooper has his shirt. Yeah.
Did you know that there was a chipmunk Green Lantern?
I did not know. I know Chip and Dale, but I don't know.
There's a planet in the multiverse that is populated by animals, and the Green Lantern that got chosen from there is a chipmunk.
That's adorable. That's just so cute. I love it. I love it.
And his name is Chip. CH''P.
So Chip. Okay.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if they're being very smart or if they're just reaching.
I don't know. So if you're reading the Green Lantern and the multiverse stuff, have fun with that. It's furry centric now.
My fursona is now a carrot.
A carrot, okay.
And since it's a fursona, it's a carrot that's been sitting around a long time.
I got into a discussion on Telegram today, since we're talking kind of in this area, about TARs.
Oh, cool.
They kind of creep me out a little bit.
Oh, so not so cool.
Well, and I understand it. You have years ago, there was everybody wanted to be a Yeen, and then there was the Sergals, and everybody does the little thing, and now it's TARs.
Oh.
And yes, there were lots of TARs earlier, but now they just seem to be all over the place. This one on the one chat, he's a rabbit TAR. And I was like, okay, that's kind of okay, but where are all the internal organs? He responded, he says, well, you're not the only one that's thought of this. And so he gave me a big, long discussion about there's 2 hearts, there's 2 lungs. The lungs in the front body is for just normal breathing, and the lungs in the lower body is for running and exertion. And there's 2 hearts and a really big liver. I don't know why there has to be a really big liver, but
there is.
So apparently somebody has filled in all the gaps on that.
Okay, they did a lot of good thinking. Does this bunny tar have bunny tar? That would make the fur all matted.
He's a rabbitar.
So, well, no, because tar is sticky
I know.
stuff. And so,
Yes.
you were trying to.
I was tracking, yeah.
I was doing a very bad pun, and you were doing a very good job at trying to not pay
Ignore
attention.
it.
But
Yes,
look at
yes.
me.
All right, yeah.
I'm not going to let us ignore this. We're not dropping this.
We're not
But
dropping
what
this.
I
Okay.
meant to say was, does bunny tar have like a little fluffy tail and like a normal tail?
I didn't see his tail.
Oh, okay.
And of course, as I was scouring the web, I came across a website called furrycons.com. It has a listing of all the cons around the world that are going on by date. 99% of them have the word canceled after it, but still, there was a couple that still looked like they were going to happen. But when I clicked into them, got to their website, they're announcing that they were not going to have it because of COVID. So if you want to see and get depressed about all the cons that are not happening, go to furrycons.com.
If you really want to be sad and depressed and just feel like your life has no meaning, go to furrycons.com.
But when everything's said and done, this is a good website to have in your back pocket to know when things are and where are things and all that. Now, on the other side of that, there is a weekly event on Omegle, which I don't know what Omegle is.
So Omegle is it's like you go in and you just randomly talk to someone live via webcam for like 2 minutes or something like that. And then after 2 minutes is up, you go somewhere else and randomly talk to someone else. There's been some problems with it, as you might imagine. But anyway, that's what it is. I'll let you continue with saying what you were saying.
Is it like speed dating?
Something like that. And your date is over in like 2 minutes. And well, that was fun. I guess I'll move on to my next boyfriend or girlfriend.
But anyway, there is a Fuzzy Omegle weekend, and it happens every weekend, every Saturday night. So search that on Twitter and you'll find their connections so you can do Fuzzy Omegle on Saturdays if you want.
It's a networking thing. It's not necessarily a dating thing. It's just like, hey, I want to talk to random people and stuff. And there's, of course, non-furry stuff too. And I've seen things about like non-furs will run into furs in suit and stuff. And that, that's kind of fun.
Something to do if you're bored on a weekend. So I believe it is a week for math.
It is. And you don't have to be too strong to do math. You can be weak too. That was really bad and poorly executed.
Really bad.
I really hope they're still first listening because I have a fun math thing. And this is a very famous problem called the Monty Hall Problem. For all you furs that might not know, Monty Hall was a game show host of a game show called Let's Make a Deal back in the late 70s, early 80s, around there. Monty Hall didn't come up with a problem, but that's what it's called. It's also sometimes called the Let's Make a Deal problem, based on a particular game that was in the game show. So I'll tell you in a minute what the problem was, but I want to give you a little bit of history and also kind of tell you about why this is so famous and amazing. So back in 1975, this problem was posed and it was solved by this guy named Steve Selvin, and he posted the solution to a publication called The American Statistician. Okay, great. Now, then in 1990, Marilyn Vos Savant, very famous, very smart person, wrote the articles Ask Marilyn in the Parade magazine. People would send in intellectual problems and things, and she would solve them and talk about them in her column. And she posted this solution to this particular problem in that magazine. And it received a lot of attention because everyone thought it was wrong. This is not right. Now, Marilyn Vos Savant, she's really smart and everything, but everyone was like, no, this is not the correct solution. There were PhDs that wrote in and said, no, this is not correct. I mean, like, lots of PhDs, lots of really smart people, mathematicians wrote in and said, sorry, Marilyn, this is not correct. It turns out it was correct. So let me talk a little bit about that. Let me tell you what the problem is. It's kind of an interesting little problem. So you have 3 doors, call them door 1, 2, 3. And behind one of the doors is a shiny brand new car. Woo! Woo, how exciting. Behind the other two are goats. So you have a car, a goat, and a goat. And the contestant comes up and Monty Hall says, okay, pick one of these. You pick one of the 3 doors. Monty Hall opens one of the other 2 doors that you did not pick. So let's say you pick door number 1. Monty Hall opens, say, door number 2 or something to reveal what's behind it, closes the door and says, do you want to switch? Would you like to stay with door 1 or switch to door 3? If that's what door you picked. And then the game show goes on. But the problem is, the question is, do you stay with what you picked or do you switch? And what do you think, Barely? Do you switch or do you stay? Does it even matter?
I don't think it matters.
I mean, there's 2 doors, 50-50 chance why it wouldn't matter, right?
Right.
The thing is, it turns out you actually increase your probability of winning the car by changing. This is what like everyone was writing in about and saying, no, it doesn't matter if you switch. It's still a 50% probability. And it blows the mind. Why? Just because he shows you something, why should it matter? So I want to try and explain why it matters, if you would care to hear it.
All of our listeners would at this point.
Your probabilities actually move from 1/3 to 2/3 chance that you now have of getting the car just by switching. So let me kind of tell you about this. And a lot of people ask about this all the time, like, why does it matter? So the key to this whole thing is that Monty Hall, I mean, he's a game show host. He knows what's behind all the doors, and he's not going to just give the car away, right? So let's bigger scale this thing. So we have 100 doors, say. And same game, Monty Hall says, well, pick a door, and you pick door number 1. There's a 99% chance, 99 out of 100 doors now that might have the car behind it. So there's a 99% chance that what you picked is not a car. So Monty Hall now reveals, and just, you know, you're going to either pick one or the other. So he opens up 98 doors so that they're not yours, but 98 doors, so there's 1 left over, so you can pick whether or not you stay or switch. Now, he knows what's behind the doors. He's not going to reveal the car. So those 98 doors all have goats behind them. Having done that means that the 1 door that's left, that hasn't, besides yours, that hasn't been opened, there's now that, you know, that 99% chance is now all on that 1 door that there's a car behind. By knowing this information, you've actually moved that 99% chance to the 1 door. The question is, do you switch or stay with what you have? Well, now that I know I only have a 1% chance that the door I'm standing in front of has a car, I think I'll switch, because there's a 99% chance that there's a car behind that door. So now you take that and apply that to 3 doors.
But there's also a 99% chance that the door I picked has the car behind it too.
There doesn't. So when you start, so think of it this way. When you start, there's 100 doors.
Right.
There's 1 out of 100 chance that you pick the door of the car.
Okay.
So you're standing in front of that door. So there's a 99% chance that that chunk now has the car in it.
Right.
Remember, the key is that Monty Hall knows this is like the thing that makes this work. If Monty Hall did not know, then what you just said is correct. Point is that he knows, which means he knows which 98 doors to open that do not have the car. So now you know, by seeing all those goats, that's not the car. That 99% chance that was in that big chunk has now moved to the 1 door. It's really interesting to think about.
It's very interesting to think about. And I'm on the side of all those PhDs that said it's the same.
It's the same. So now you take that and go to 3 doors, and it's the same idea. Now, of course, there's math. There's something called conditional probabilities. There's like precise math that backs all this up. And what I just explained and everything, that's just the intuitive side of what goes behind all the math and stuff.
Huh. Wow. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting math thing. I'm going to have to go back and watch some old Let's Make a Deal.
Yeah, I think I will too. Now, actually, too. For any of you Furs that kind of like that kind of counterintuitive, fun little thought process puzzles, you know, go check out the other ones I mentioned, the 3 prisoners problem. You might have heard of the 3 liars problem. And as I said, the Bertrand box problem. Yeah, cool.
All right. Cool. Okay, so that brings us to our joke section of the podcast. All right, so I'm going to start the jokes today because I want to.
It's a good reason.
It's a good reason. Yeah. I got a 50-50 chance of starting the jokes. If there was a third podcast host.
Yeah. Would we change or not?
That's, we don't know. Yeah. So do you know why shrimp don't donate to charities?
I do not. Why do they not donate to charities?
Because they're shellfish.
Oh, cow. So this isn't from my book, but on that note,
Uh-huh.
do you know why the fly always hung around the mushroom?
I have no idea.
Because he's such a fun guy. Maybe that should be in this book.
Do you know when you have a bladder infection, you're in trouble?
Okay, so this is from my book of really bad jokes that are horrible, and there's been, I think, 2 now that we actually don't get. Well, one had to be explained to us, but it took like 2 weeks. The teacher says, "What happened in 1809?" John said, "Lincoln was born." The teacher said, "Now, what happened in 1812?" John says, "He had his 3rd birthday." Oh.
Okay.
I mean, it's true, but
That's true. So there was this fortune teller who was very short stature. He was like 4 feet 1 inches tall, and he broke the law and he was wanted by the police, and he was a small medium at large.
Oh, cow. Yes, he sure was. So there was this Indian chief, and his son stood on a high mountain. The chief held his hand over the great prairie and said, "Son, someday Indians own all this land again. White man, all go to moon."
Huh?
That was the joke.
That was the joke?
The end of the joke. That was the joke. I don't know.
I don't know. That's, we can't have a joke session without a joke that we both scratch our head over. So
yeah, there it is.
a termite walks into a cocktail lounge and asks, "Is the bartender here?"
Just say that again.
A termite walks into a cocktail lounge and asks, "Is the bartender here?"
I don't get it. I really don't.
Okay, what are bars made out of?
Wood.
What does a termite eat?
They eat wood.
Okay, and he wants to know if the bar is tender.
Oh, is the bartender? Oh.
Okay.
Wow. That's possum.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about the cross-eyed teacher?
I did not.
Well, it turns out she had trouble with her pupils. They go to the moon. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have anything else. Do you have anything else?
I do. This is not from my book, but it is a little bit of trivia, actually. Do you know where you get dragon milk from?
I think so, but go ahead and tell me.
You get dragon milk from a short-legged cow.
So it's interesting that you mentioned trivia, because we're going to play trivia to make up for this and that, since we have no more this and that's to go for.
And by the way, for any fur that is, so we're replacing, like we talked about last week, we're getting rid of this or that because we're running out of this or that. So if any fur has any of this or that you'd like Birdie to ask me, send them in. Or if you're really unhappy we're getting rid of it, let us know so that we can not cause you pain and agony.
Okay, so I have a Trivial Pursuit game up on the computer.
Oh.
It is just like regular Trivial Pursuit, wherein we have various categories. The categories are geography, entertainment, history, literature, science, and sports.
I will take the category entertainment.
What group's 2002 debut album included the songs "This Love" and "She Will Be Loved"?
Her Majesty Is My Princess?
No, it was Maroon 5.
Oh, I was so close.
How about science?
Okay.
Which element contributes the most mass to the human body?
No, it's not fire. I was going to say fire, and it's not fire, because fire is an element. It's either carbon or oxygen. I'm going to go carbon.
Oxygen.
Oh, I was so close. I had that 50-50 chance, but I didn't change at the last second.
Let's try sports, since we know that you're a sports pup.
Oh, yes. Oh, this will go great.
Within 1 year, give or take 1 year, how old was Tiger Woods when he won the 1997 Masters tournament?
94 and a half.
Well, he's not that age yet, so I think you're wrong.
So probably not. Okay, how about 25?
Close. He was 21.
Okay.
Let's geography.
Okay.
The Rio Grande River forms part of the border between which two countries?
Rio Grande, California, and Australia.
Well, I know it would be Mexico and the United States, Taebyn.
Well, California is in one of those, so that's close.
Let's move on to history, shall we?
I know a lot of things. I know so many things.
What became the official name of China in 1949?
China.
Well, I know it was the People's Republic of China.
Oh, okay. So I'm getting closer. China's in there.
And our last category for the day, literature.
Literature.
Among this author's characters are Edmond Dance, Albert de Morcerf, and D'Artagnan. Who is the author?
Who is the author? Romanon de Vinci of Harrisburg, France.
Sort of. It was Alexander Dumas.
I was so close. I'm really getting there.
That's our replacement for this or that. That brings us to the end. You know, we made it to the end again. It's amazing how we start and we get to the end.
It is amazing. With me, you know how this pup is, and I distract, and I am cray pup. So it's really amazing that this is what our 24th episode, 24 times you've actually made it with me to the end. I don't know how that even happened.
I don't know how that happens either. It's a strange, strange world.
We might actually have one listener that makes it to the end. That would be great. So thank you, one listener.
One listener for sticking around. But I get the feeling that a lot of them listen to it at 1.5 or 2 times speed.
Yes. And so I'm going, blah, blah.
So we should talk really slow so those that are listening at 2 times speed will hear this in my normal tone.
You sounded like, what was his name? I don't,
sure. Remember him.
He wore the little green hat and read a children's book.
He wore a little green hat and read a children's book. Okay.
In one episode, anyway.
In one episode of something, yes.
Ed E. It starts with an E.
Ed Wood?
Ed Wood? I don't know if he would or not, but Ed did. No, he was in an episode of what was the Bruce Willis thing? It had the Christmas.
Die Hard? Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna stop trying.
Stop right there, because I don't remember a guy in a green hat in Die Hard, but I think you're trying to make a connection somewhere.
Reading children's books.
Reading children's books to Die Hard. Yeah. Okay. So, if you would like to reach out to us, you can do so through email, Twitter, Telegram, website, YouTube, Facebook, but not TikTok. Don't have TikTok.
Not TikTok.
Or Omegle, apparently.
Or Omegle, because...
And if you would like to support the show, you can do so through your generous donations through Ko-Fi at Barely Furcasting. Well, Taebyn, it's been a pleasure, always a pleasure. So I'm going to say goodbye, and you should say goodbye, Taebyn.
Goodbye, Taebyn. And I'll even add on a bark bark. See you next time.
Barely Furcasting is an Injured Nerves studio production and is found on all major podcast platforms or can be heard directly at barelyfurcasting.com. All opinions expressed here are those of Taebyn and Barely, and neither received any commercial compensation for their opinions. The Furcast is produced, recorded, and directed by me, Barely Normal, aka Mike Began, and is edited by myself and our associate editors Rain Raccoon and Canes. This week's interview was edited by Rain Raccoon. Opening and closing theme music was created for Injured Nerves Productions for the use on the podcast by our music associate, Regde, with Damian Tanuki. Some interstitial and background music by Shane Ivers through silvermansound.com. If you would like to send us a message, you can do so via email at barelyfurcasting@gmail.com or on our Telegram chat at BFFTchat, on Twitter, or on our Facebook page, or on the barelyfurcasting.com webpage. You can also help support the show through donations at ko-fi.com/barelyfurcasting. Thanks for listening. We hope you come back and listen next week.